Welcome to Let's Talk About the Book. Today we're talking about the essential skills of a masculine presence, the Warrior Ethos by R.P. Thor and myself, and this is dedicated to him, a friend, brother, and warrior. As you may know, we lost R.P. Thor a year ago, and I can truly say I miss the time, conversation, and the weekly live shows I was grateful to be a part of with this man. The many hours I spent with him writing, editing, and forming the thoughts in this book were some of the funniest and sorrowful in my life, as he was very ill when we wrote this. He was the best of the Red Pill community, as his focus was on male development and awareness and not hating women or riding the decline. He felt that a good masculine man will attract those to his life that add not only companionship but joy. As I look up, my friends see the finest of a life lived well. This is an important book in the masculine journey because it deals with something men often misunderstand. Presence. When people hear the phrase masculine presence, they may think of appearance, confidence, posture, voice, style, strength, or the way a man enters a room. And yes, those things may be part of it, but they are not the foundation. A true masculine presence is not just how a man looks. It is what people feel when he is present. Do they feel steadiness? Do they feel clarity? Do they feel strength without threat? Do they feel leadership without domination? Do they feel that this man is governed from within? That is the deeper question, because presence is not performance. Presence is alignment. It is when a man's thoughts, values, emotions, words, and actions begin moving in the same direction. That is why this book matters. It does not treat masculinity as an image. It treats masculinity as a practice. One of the strongest ideas in this book is that masculine presence must be built. A man is not automatically grounded because he is older. He is not automatically wise because he has experience. He is not automatically strong because he has survived hardship. Hardship can build a man, but it can also harden him. Experience can teach a man, but only if he reflects on it. Age can bring wisdom, but only if a man chooses to learn. That is why the warrior ethos is so important. The warrior ethos says that a man must face life with courage, discipline, restraint, loyalty, service, and moral responsibility. And that does not only apply to battle, it applies to everyday life. It applies to fatherhood. It applies to marriage. It applies to work. It applies to leadership. It applies to how a man handles pressure, disappointment, temptation, anger, fear, and failure. The warrior is not only the man who fights. The warrior is the man who stands. He stands in truth. He stands in responsibility. He stands in self-command. He stands when life gives him every reason to collapse, complain, lash out, or quit. That is the kind of presence this book is talking about. From an educational standpoint, this book helps men understand that presence is made of essential skills. It is not one thing. It is a combination of inner traits and outer behaviors. A man must learn emotional control. He must learn how to listen. He must learn how to pause before reacting. He must learn how to carry himself with dignity. He must learn how to speak with clarity. He must learn how to hold boundaries. He must learn how to protect without becoming aggressive. He must learn how to lead without needing applause. He must learn how to serve without becoming weak. That is what separates true masculine presence from masculine performance. Performance says, "Look at me." Presence says, "I am grounded." Performance needs attention. Presence creates impact. Performance is loud. Presence can be quiet and still be powerful, and that is one of the reasons this book is valuable for men today. Many men are being pulled between two extremes. On one side, they are told masculinity is dangerous and should be softened until it has no structure. On the other side, they are told masculinity is nothing but dominance, aggression, status, and control. Both extremes miss the deeper truth. A man does not have to become harmless, and he does not have to become destructive. He has to become governed. That is the warrior ethos. Power under discipline, strength under control, courage under moral direction, presence under responsibility. This book also connects strongly to the idea of frame. A man with true presence does not need to constantly explain himself. He does not need to win every argument. He does not need to prove his masculinity in every room. He does not need to dominate people to feel strong. His frame speaks through his consistency. People begin to trust what is steady. They trust the man who does not collapse under pressure. They trust the man who keeps his word. They trust the man who can be firm without being cruel. They trust the man who does not let anger become his master. They trust the man who can carry responsibility without making everyone else suffer under the weight of it. That kind of man has presence. And here is the important part. That presence cannot be faked for long. A man may imitate confidence. He may imitate toughness. He may imitate leadership. But when pressure comes, the truth shows. That is why the warrior ethos matters, because it prepares the man before the test arrives. One of the quiet messages of the essential skills of a masculine presence is that a man must become useful. Not just impressive, useful. There is a difference. An impressive man may attract attention. A useful man brings value. He knows how to think, he knows how to act, he knows how to protect, he knows how to calm a room, he knows how to carry responsibility, he knows how to make decisions, he knows how to bring order where there is confusion. That is one of the highest forms of masculine presence. A man enters a situation and something becomes more stable because he is there, not because he controls everyone, not because he takes over, because he brings clarity, strength, and direction. That is rare, and that is needed. This book is also important because it challenges men to stop confusing emotion with weakness. The warrior ethos does not require a man to become numb. A man can feel deeply and still remain governed. He can feel fear and still act with courage. He can feel grief and still carry duty. He can feel anger and still choose restraint. He can feel pressure and still remain steady. That is not emotional denial, that is emotional mastery. And that is part of masculine presence. A man who feels nothing is not necessarily strong. Sometimes he is disconnected. But a man who can feel and still choose rightly is developing real power. That is why presence is not only physical, it is spiritual. It is emotional. It is moral. It is behavioral. It is the full expression of a man who is no longer being dragged around by every impulse, wound, fear, or insecurity. So who should read this book? The Essential Skills of a Masculine Presence. The Warrior Ethos is for the man who wants to become more grounded. It is for the man who wants to understand why presence matters. It is for the man who wants to build strength without becoming harsh. It is for the man who wants to be respected without needing to demand respect. It is for the man who wants to develop courage, discipline, restraint, and leadership. It is for the man who understands that masculinity is not just about what he claims to be. It is about what he practices every day. This book is especially valuable for men who are trying to become more intentional in how they live, speak, lead, protect, and carry themselves. It gives language to something many men want but may not know how to build. Presence. Not fake confidence, not ego, not performance, but real masculine presence rooted in the warrior ethos. As we close this episode of Let's Talk About the Book, I would say this book belongs in the hands of men who are serious about becoming more than reactive, more than loud, more than impressive, more than angry, more than useful only when life is easy. The warrior ethos calls a man higher. It asks him to become disciplined. It asks him to become courageous. It asks him to become emotionally governed. It asks him to become morally clear. It asks him to become present in the deepest sense of the word. Because a man's presence is not measured only by how he enters a room. It is measured by what he brings into that room. Does he bring chaos or calm? Does he bring ego or clarity? Does he bring fear or courage? Does he bring reaction or discipline? Does he bring selfishness or service? That is the question. And that is why the essential skills of a masculine presence, the warrior ethos, matters. It reminds men that presence is earned, the warrior ethos is practiced, and masculine strength is most powerful when it is governed by character. This has been Let's Talk About the Book. Today we talked about the essential skills of a masculine presence, the warrior ethos, a book about presence, discipline, courage, emotional control, moral strength, and the warrior code that helps a man stand steady in an unstable world. Until next time, keep reading, keep reflecting, and keep becoming.